All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about the one concept that can completely change your running. Transform it from this grueling, hard effort into something that feels, well, effortless, like you're just bouncing along. This is the secret to unlocking what I like to call your body's own biological turbo button. So, I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. When you're out on a run, what does it actually feel like? Is it a constant grind? You know, that feeling of consciously pushing off the pavement over and over again? If you're nodding your head right now, look, you're definitely not alone. But, and this is a big but, you are leaving a massive amount of free speed just sitting on the table.
But what if? What if we could just flip that feeling on its head? Imagine this. Instead of you pushing yourself forward, it feels like the ground is literally throwing you forward. That's the goal. That's the feeling we are chasing. And believe it or not, it's all thanks to one incredibly powerful mechanism built right into our bodies. And here it is, the big secret. It's called the Stretch-Shortening cycle, or SSC for short. This is that turbo button I was talking about. It's the system in your body that basically turns your legs into these super efficient, spring-loaded pistons.
Okay, so a biological turbo button sounds pretty cool, right? But how does this spring actually work? Let's break it down. We're going to deconstruct the anatomy of a single bounce and map it right onto the motion of your hip. So this whole thing happens in 4 quick phases. First up, you've got the preload. Think of this as cocking the hammer. You do it by pulling your toes up towards your shin before you even land. Next is the eccentric phase. This is where your hip sinks down, absorbing the impact and loading the spring. Then, the magic moment, amortization. It's just a millisecond, a tiny switch where you go from moving down to moving up. And finally, boom, the concentric phase. That's firing the cannon, releasing all that stored energy and propelling you forward.
Look, I know that might sound a little complicated, so here's a much simpler way to picture it. Just imagine your leg is a pogo stick. That's it. You land on it, you compress that big spring, and what happens? It automatically snaps back and launches you into the air. That, right there, is the stretch-shortening cycle in a nutshell.
All right, so the theory makes sense, right? A pogo stick leg. Got it. But the real question is, how do you know if you're actually using it when you run? Well, that's what we're going to find out next. Think of this next section as a diagnostic dashboard for your run, so you can see if you're a pusher or a bouncer.
Yeah, which one are you? This is really the most important question. Are you powering your run with pure brute force muscle? Or are you tapping into that free energy from the elastic recoil of your tendons? Let's find out.
Let's start with the core mechanics here. If you're a pusher, your main power source is just conscious muscle contraction. It feels like you're actively pulling yourself forward. And the sound? It's often that heavy slap, slap, slap on the pavement. Now, a bouncer is totally different. They're using that elastic tendon recoil. So the feeling isn't, I'm pulling, it's the ground is throwing me forward. And the sound? It's a quick pop, or even better, total silence.
And for all of you who love the data, your watch will tell you the story. The numbers really don't lie. A pusher spends a lot of time on the ground. We're talking over 250 milliseconds. But a bouncer, they're off the ground incredibly fast, less than 240 milliseconds. And because they're so quick, their cadence naturally settles at a high, fixed rhythm, usually around 180 or even higher. That's the sweet spot, the natural frequency of this whole spring system.
So here's your first big takeaway. The first tool you should use to figure this out is your ears. Seriously, call it the ninja test. If you hear a loud slap with every footstep, that's wasted energy. That sound is energy that should be propelling you forward. Silence, on the other hand, means that energy is being stored and returned perfectly. Here's a simple rule. If you can't hear your footsteps over your own breathing, the SSC is working.
Okay, cue number 2 is all about the feeling. I call it the trampoline effect. It's a very distinct sensation. You feel pulled up by the ground, not like you're pushing off of it. It's a huge shift in perception. You stop being the one who's creating all the force, and you start just reacting to the force the ground is giving back to you.
And the third and final cue is rhythm. It's like your body has a favorite beat. When your SSC is fully engaged, your body naturally wants to operate at its most efficient frequency. And for most of us, that means your cadence will just settle in. It'll lock in right around 180 steps per minute or more, just like a metronome. The key thing here is you won't even have to force it. It just happens.
All right, so you know what to look for, but how do you actually get this system to turn on? You can't just head out the door and expect it to work right away. You've got to prime the system. You need to tune the stiffness of your tendons before you even start your run.
And here are 3 super simple drills to do just that, to wake the system up. First, ankle pops. You're just bouncing on the spot using only your ankles. The goal is minimal ground contact time. Second, the drop-in visualization. Just step off a curb and try to stick the landing without making a sound. This teaches your body to absorb that load quietly. And hey, if you run in those carbon-plated super shoes, try the Alpha Fly test. Your goal is to land on that sweet spot and make the AirPods actually hiss. That's how you know you're getting maximum rebound.
Okay, a quick word of warning here. This style of running, it's incredibly efficient. It's a game changer. But it's also very much a high-risk, high-reward situation. You're putting immense tension through your tendons and muscles, so you absolutely have to be smart about it if you want to stay off the sidelines.
So think of this as your safety checklist. These are the red flags to watch out for. If your foot feels like it's just pancaking on the ground, well, that means your ground contact time is too long and you're putting your Achilles at risk. The fix? Simple. Just focus on increasing your cadence. What if you hear that loud slap from landing with a stiff leg? That's a direct path to tibial stress fractures. The fix there is to focus on soft knees and just trust the sink. And finally, if you feel that little tug in your hamstring, it means you're whipping your leg through too late. The cue there is to cut the oval short and just pull through quicker.
So after all that, if you remember just one thing from this entire breakdown, please let it be this 3-word sequence. This is the master cue. It's the whole thing in a nutshell. Before you land, lock your ankle by pulling your toe up. As you land, sink your hip down to load that spring, and as you push off, scrape back with your glute to fire all that energy forward. Lock, sink, scrape. That's it.
You now have the entire blueprint. You understand the 4 phases, you know the diagnostic cues to listen and feel for, and you have the safety checks to keep you healthy. You have everything you need. So the only real question left is, are you ready to stop pushing and finally start bouncing?